We know the Tarnished existed in the lands between before the Night of Black Knives. They lived amongst the Golden Order, some as knights serving lords, some as sorcerers of Glintstone studying in Raya Lucaria. It's easy to forget that many of the Tarnished do not come to be in the lands between as we did, fumbling for meaning and understanding. They have knowledge that we don't. They've experienced the lands between before, during its glory days, and they know its history better than we do. Today we're going to discuss two such Tarnished that know far more than we ever could. Two Tarnished who were amongst the first to visit the Roundtable Hold after the call of grace started to summon our people. Companions who likely traveled the world together before returning to the lands between. Friends who chose vastly different paths, but ultimately came together again in battle. Vargram, the Raging Wolf, and Errant Sorcerer Wilhelm. Before we begin our dive on these characters, please make sure to subscribe to Square Table Gaming. Hitting that subscribe button helps us play nice with YouTube's algorithm and reach a wider audience. With that out of the way, let's begin. The story of Vargram and Wilhelm likely begins before the Tarnished were exiled from the lands between. Vargram established himself as a skilled knight during this time, while Wilhelm studied Glintstone sorceries. How their paths crossed exactly is unknown, but thanks to the Errant Sorcerer robe, we know they were friends, and we believe it makes the most sense for both of their stories for them to have known each other before the exile. After Marika made her decision to banish the Tarnished from the lands between, it's likely Wilhelm was given a mission of sorts. The Hierodas Glintstone crown is one of the Glintstone crowns bestowed upon Raya Lucaria scholars whose pursuits were deemed worthy. The crown was granted to scholars who engaged in nomadic study away from the academy. From this we can glean that the scholars of Raya Lucaria saw Wilhelm as an asset to their research, and wanted him to continue his studies outside of the lands between, in hopes he could uncover some new truths about the world beyond their purview. Who better for Wilhelm to travel with than another Tarnished, a friend who had shown his ferocity as a knight, Vargram. The two likely traveled as a team, with Vargram acting as the muscle while Wilhelm was able to strike from the shadows with his sorcery. Ambush Shard tells us the Celian sorcerers were assassins, and it's said that they often hunted their fellows. So we know Wilhelm would have acted as a strong support for Vargram's more physical style. Upon being called back to the lands between, Vargram and Wilhelm arrived at the Roundtable Hold together, which explains why they are both described as one of the first Tarnished to arrive at the Roundtable Hold. We believe this is where their stories diverge, where each of these Tarnished chases their own destinies, and their friendship is severed, if temporarily. We will start our dissection of this time in their lives with Vargram. As the Raging Wolfhelm tells us, Vargram earned his nickname from the white wolf pelt that adorns his helm, so we know that his title is tied to wolves, but it goes deeper than this. Vargram did not just embody the strength of wolves in the lands between, he saw the deeper connection between wolves and power in his homeland. The Raging Wolf armor tells us, according to the old legends, wolves are the shadows of the Empyrean. Vargram aspired to such a state himself. Vargram understood the power of Malekith the Black Blade, Marika's shadow, the power to wield the Rune of Death, and decided that if he would follow the guidance of grace, those are the footsteps he would walk in. The question remains, if Vargram the Raging Wolf was to be a shadow, whose shadow would he be? To what Empyrean would he dedicate himself? We believe we can determine this by the weapon he wields, the Godslayer's Greatsword. The Godslayer's Greatsword tells us it is the sacred sword of the Gloam-Eyed Queen, who controlled the Godskin Apostles before her defeat at the hands of Malekith. The black flames wielded by the Apostles are channeled from this sword. Vargram understood both his destiny as a Tarnished, to pursue the throne of Elden Lord by defeating the demigods themselves, but he also saw how futile this could be without a means to properly destroy them. In order to put a true end to the demigods and take their great runes for himself, Vargram looked to the power of the Gloam-Eyed Queen, the Empyrean who originally wielded death itself before the rune was given to Malekith. This Empyrean has no shadow, So that is who Vargram would become. Though he would never meet his lord, he would take up her power in the form of the Godslayer's greatsword, and use the black flame to bring true death to the demigods, acting as the Gloam-Eyed Queen's shadow, protecting her legacy through the power she once wielded herself. Now that we have some background on Vargram, we can discuss the actions of Errant Sorcerer Wilhelm after returning to the Lands Between. It's very likely that after his return, he attempted to visit Raya Lucaria to report on his time away. He found his school to be in ruins, likely a shell of its former self, and discovered what had happened during his time away. From here, he was left with few options when it came to what to do next. As a Cillian sorcerer who worked best from the shadows, it's unlikely he could pursue great runes and try to become the next Elden Lord, but perhaps there was another way he could figure out his next move. The Errant Sorcerer robe tells us Wilhelm was a silent seeker of sorcery who had gone so far as to make contact with the primeval current. Wilhelm was led by guidance into confrontation with his friend Vargram, and it's said that he was then taken prisoner in the Roundtable Hold. Wilhelm reached out to the primeval current in an attempt to learn what the future may hold, and whatever truth was shown to him led to a confrontation with Vargram, the Raging Wolf. Perhaps he saw the darkness of the future, the abyss, just as Lusat and Azor had, and the futility of the mission to become Elden Lord became apparent to him. Upon sharing his findings with his friend, Vargram's dedication to his purpose led to a split in their friendship, and Wilhelm's imprisonment within the Roundtable Hold. It's unknown how much time passes between these events and our Tarnished coming to the Lands Between, but at some point, the friendship between Vargram and Wilhelm was mended. We can fight these two in the Roundtable Hold itself, which implies that they may have mended their friendship while Wilhelm was kept prisoner. If we choose to follow the Volcano Manor questline, Knight Bernal will eventually present us with a letter, a special invitation to hunt some of the first Tarnished who sat at the Roundtable Hold. He tells us, "If you should accept, I'll next see you on the field of battle." This letter leads us to believe that Vargram still aspires to become Elden Lord, and perhaps with their friendship mended, Wilhelm now supports him. Should we follow the directions in the letter, we head to the fortified manor within Lanedale, an exact copy of the Roundtable Hold we know. And upon invading this Tarnished world, we can do battle with Vargram, the Raging Wolf, and his companion, Wilhelm, the Errant Sorcerer. It seems as though these two came to an understanding, Vargram still wanting to destroy the demigods in the name of the Gloam-Eyed Queen, and Wilhelm wishing to prevent the abyss from swallowing the world, and they now fight side by side as companions again. Unfortunately for them, our Tarnished, along with Bernal, are there to stop them in their tracks. While Vargram the Raging Wolf was used in much of the advertising leading up to Elden Ring, traces of his story are few and far between in the actual game. Whether this is due to original plans that fell through, changes in development, or maybe even future DLC that will dive more heavily into the Tarnished that came before us, it's impossible to know. From here, we can only speculate with the information we have on hand who the Raging Wolf was, but one thing is clear. The strongest lore threads we have are his dedication to the Gloam-Eyed Queen as her shadow, and his friendship with a sorcerer who glimpsed the primeval current, but did not follow it to his demise as others had before him. We hope you enjoyed this look into Vargram the Raging Wolf and the Errant Sorcerer Wilhelm. It was fun trying to weave together the story of these two based on the information available in-game. While we believe Vargram may have some deeper lore that could be explored in future DLC, what do you think? Leave a comment letting us know. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell to help us with YouTube's algorithm, and stay tuned for our next video. We're currently discussing the possibility of a live chat with you, our audience, to give you some background on how we create our Elden lore videos, and to get your ideas on future topics you'd like to see us tackle. Let us know if you'd be interested in joining us, and don't forget to come back for more Elden lore.